In the landscape of English folklore, few figures loom as large or as mysteriously as Mother Shipton. For nearly 400 years, her name has been synonymous with prophecy, a Yorkshire witch whose cryptic couplets supposedly foretold the fate of kings and kingdoms. She is presented as England's Nostradamus, a folk hero whose wisdom echoed down the centuries. But as the historian Ed Simon explores, the story of Mother Shipton is not a simple biography. It is a complex and fascinating case study in the construction of a myth. Her historical existence is at best ambiguous. The legend that we know today is a patchwork of tradition, invention, propaganda, and outright fiction. To investigate Mother Shipton is to realize that the question, was she real, is perhaps the least interesting one. The true power of her story lies in how it was shaped and reshaped over time to serve the needs of the present. Her prophecies were weaponized in civil wars, her biography embellished by opportunistic writers, and her name attached to a doomsday hoax that sent a nation into a panic. Yet, through all the layers of fabrication, Simon argues that her legend offers a cracked truth, not about the future, but about our own deep-seated human desire for meaning, our yearning for a connection to the past, and the enduring power of a good story. The legend begins not with a historical record, but with a fantastical tale of demonic origins. According to the tradition first popularized in the 17th century, a young orphaned girl named Agatha Soothtell was seduced by a handsome and charming stranger who was, in fact, the devil himself. The result of their union was a child named Ursula, born in a cave by the River Nid in Yorkshire in 1488. Head's biography was a sensation, filled with tales of Ursula's magical feats and her marriage to a local carpenter, Tobias Shipton, a union supposedly attended by demonic entities. This was not history. It was sensationalist fiction, but it gave the nebulous folk figure a solid, terrifying, and compelling backstory. The historical record, by contrast, is almost completely silent. Most sources claim Mother Shipton died in 1561, yet there is a gap of 80 years between her supposed death and the first time her name ever appeared in print, around 1641. The most tantalizing clue to a real person comes from a 1537 letter, in which King Henry VIII dismissively refers to a witch of York while dealing with unrest in the north. Could this have been the real Ursula? It's possible, but as Simon notes, the fact of the existence of Mother Shipton rests wholly upon Yorkshire tradition. The foundation of Mother Shipton's fame was her uncanny ability to predict the future. Yet, the secret to her success was simple. The majority of her most famous prophecies were written long after the events they claimed to foretell. This is the phenomenon of retroactive prophecy, where old vague verses are revised and edited to conform perfectly to later events, giving the prophet an aura of infallibility. Her supposed predictions read like a highlight reel of Tudor and Stuart history. She foretold the downfall of the powerful Cardinal Wolsey, the reign of a maiden queen, Elizabeth I, and the defeat of the Spanish Armada by Drake's forces. She predicted the execution of a widowed queen, who would be headless seen, a clear reference to Mary, Queen of Scots. These verses were not cryptic clues to the future. They were historical summaries disguised as prophecy. They were created and circulated in pamphlets decades or even centuries after the fact, attributed to the now legendary Yorkshire witch to give them an air of ancient authority. This practice demonstrates a key function of prophecy. It wasn't always about telling the future, but about making sense of the past. By framing major historical events as the fulfillment of a long foretold destiny, these prophecies gave people a sense of order and meaning in a chaotic world. They suggested that history was not a series of random accidents, but a narrative that had been penned long ago. The legend of Mother Shipton truly exploded in the 1640s, a decade of turmoil when England was torn apart by civil war. With the collapse of state censorship, a deluge of pamphlets hit the streets, and Mother Shipton became a veritable media phenomenon. Her ambiguous prophecies and authoritative reputation made her the perfect figure to enlist in the propaganda wars between the royalists, supporting King Charles I, and the parliamentarians. Pamphleteers on both sides ingeniously twisted her supposed verses to support their cause. Richard Head, writing after the monarchy had been restored, gave her predictions an explicitly royalist gloss. One of her most cited prophecies foretold the regicide of Charles I. The White King then, "O grief to see." This verse, circulated among royalist sympathizers, framed the execution of the king not as a political act, but as a tragic and evil event foreseen by a wise woman of old. Conversely, the parliamentarians found her just as useful. A pamphlet published in 1641, at the very beginning of the conflict, attributed to Shipton startlingly accurate predictions of the coming war. Most shockingly, it concluded with the prophecy that there shall never be warfare again, nor any more kings or queens. This was a radically anti-monarchical statement, written 8 years before Charles I was actually executed. While it appeared prescient, it was more likely an expression of the radical political hopes of its author, who simply used Mother Shipton's name as a mouthpiece to legitimize a revolutionary idea. Her legend was a blank slate, a convenient authority onto which anyone could project their own political hopes and fears. For all the historical prophecies attached to her name, Mother Shipton's most famous and impactful prediction was a complete and utter fabrication. In an 1862 edition of her prophecies, the editor Charles Hindley included a new dramatic couplet that had never appeared in any previous version. The effect of this simple verse on the Victorian popular imagination was extraordinary. As the year 1881 approached, a wave of panic swept across rural England. Newspapers reported that people were deserting their homes and spending nights praying in the fields, giving away their worldly possessions and awaiting the apocalypse. The fear became so widespread and disruptive that the British Library had to intervene. They commissioned a writer, William Henry Harrison, to investigate the prophecy's origins. In his book, Mother Shipton Investigated, Harrison revealed the truth. He had confronted Charles Hindley, who made a clean breast of having fabricated the prophecy quoted, admitting that he had invented it himself to make his edition more sensational and marketable. The Great Doomsday Prophecy was a hoax. The incident starkly revealed the immense power the legend held, but it also exposed the fragile line between folklore and deliberate disinformation. The Panic of 1881 was a dramatic testament to the human readiness to believe in a narrative of cosmic significance, even one sourced from a Victorian bookseller's marketing gimmick. Mother Shipton's story is a tapestry of hoax, invention, conjecture, and fiction. So why does her legend endure? Ed Simon suggests the answer lies in a fundamental human yearning. Prophecy, he argues, is a weird type of participatory literature. When we scour ancient predictions for clues about our own time, we are seeking a radical, sweet empathy imparted to us by our long-dead ancestors. We want to believe that they saw us coming, that our chaotic present is not an accident, but a chapter in a much older story. It is a desire for connection, a sense that we are not so alone, cut off, and adrift in our particular age. The Witch of York, whether a real woman or a complete fiction, became a vessel for this profound human need. Her legend provided a framework for understanding the past, for fighting the political battles of the present, and for contemplating the great anxieties of the future. She was a mirror, reflecting back the hopes, fears, and beliefs of each generation that invoked her name. In the end, the legend of Mother Shipton tells us very little about the future, but it reveals everything about our timeless need to find order in chaos and to feel a living connection to the past.